7.
It's nearly 7.
Call the February meeting of the Noble County Board of Zoning Appeals. Call it to order. Welcome, everybody. Teresa, could you please take the roll?
She'll let Grace.
Okay.
She's got a cheat sheet.
Mary Warman,
Here.
Michael Kloppenstein,
Here.
Jeff Boyle, Tom Griffiths,
Here.
Everett Newman.
Here.
Teresa Tackett.
Here.
And I myself am here.
Next, we're going to look at approving the minutes from November 6th and January 8th. Has everybody had a chance to look those minutes over? We'll approve them one at a time. I guess it's somebody else's here. Second.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from November 6th.
I will second that since there's nobody else here that was at that meeting. All those in favor of the November 6th minutes being approved?
Aye.
All right. Any further discussion? November 6th minutes are approved and part of our permanent record. Next, we'll move on to January 8th. I'm ready. Mary was looking at me.
I wasn't here.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 8th.
I have a first from Patty. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
A second. All those in favor of approving the January 8th minutes, all by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Minutes from January 8th are made part of the permanent record and have been approved. Somebody's time's up already.
Yours.
Okay. Gonna move into unfinished business. We got no unfinished business. Okay. New business. I'm gonna tell you how tonight's meeting will be conducted. Petitioners will come up, state their name, full name, and address, and they will give any information that is pertinent or relevant to their petition being passed. After that, I will ask Teresa, staff, if there's any comments from her or her staff, and then I will ask who made the site visit, what their thoughts were. Any questions of the board will not be counted against your time of 20 minutes. If there's anybody that wants to speak out against or remonstrate, you will also have 20 minutes. Same conditions apply. Any questions will not be counted against your 20 minutes. If there is a remonstrator, you guys will have 5 minutes rebuttal period. First up, variance. 2362, Ronald and Linda Kidd, in accordance with Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 2.04, request development standards variance for less than UDO minimum dwelling size of 1,200 square foot to be at 1,005 square foot, and less than UDO required minimum front yard setback of 85 from the center line of the road to be 49. To allow the conversion of an existing garage into a living space, additionally allowing the current primary dwelling to stay temporarily removed no later than January 1st, 2025. Real estate is located in section 31 of Noble Township, quadrant 200, parcel 9, commonly known as 57 Columbia City, Indiana. You're ready.
My name's Ronnie Kidd, and I live at 5478 South, 500 West, 57.
And I'm Linda Kidd. I live at 5478 West, dash 57, Plymouth City, Indiana. It's hard to get zip code, 46725, I don't know.
And the reason we built it is because our old house is getting so bad, foundation. And we just built it onto the garage. You can see where we built the new part. And it's exactly the same space away from the road. We talked to the county, we signed the variance, whatever you call it.
Hold harmless cost,
uh,
a hold harmless cost.
Yeah,
And the reason we wanted it mostly is because we're both so in such bad shape. She's gonna end up in a wheelchair for too long, and I was just diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. So we wanted to make it handicap accessible, everything in the new park is, ground level, everything's handicapped. And
it's wider so we can take a
It's-
wheelchair through it.
through a wheelchair and all that. And, we did the permit, they did the inspections. All we had left was the final inspection, then we had to come see you. And, so
Is that it?
that's basically it.
Teresa, do you have any comments?
No.
Okay.
Well, let me, one thing, and this might be more of an Everett question. If we go back to one of the images, the foundations are lining up, but the AC unit would probably be the closest structure.
Yeah,
as
it's
opposed to
out a
the
little
ground
bit,
Towards
yeah.
the road, other than what we advertised, I didn't know.
It's like 2 feet or whatever, so
I don't know.
47-ish, 49-ish, somewhere in there. Because I measured it a while back and it was like 50 feet almost even from the building to the road, to the center of the road, as close as I get to the center of the road.
So the foot of your AC unit is the closest point at 50 feet from the center line?
No, it's probably 2 foot less. And it's just mounted to the wall. It's a split, mini split, and it's just mounted to the wall.
Are the posts in the ground?
No, there's nothing.
Concrete? It's just a concrete block?
Concrete blocks sitting on
Oh,
the
that
wall.
might just answer that
It-
question.
They, it bolted to the wall, and we just did that because I don't really trust bolted to the wall too much,
Okay. That was my only question,
So,
that
what was the
potentially
question?
was too close to the road if there were posts in the ground, but if it's just
No,
a concrete
there's
block,
nothing.
it's not a post in the ground.
And
Is it not
You know,
considered a structure?
and like when we told them, I'm sorry.
I believe the way they describe structure in our ordinance is that it has to be permanently fixed to the ground.
Right.
So
No,
That's how we define
structure.
structure.
Right, and I thought, because I did not get to do the site, because I was sitting on my staff did that, I thought there were posts in the ground.
No.
That was my only question.
Okay,
We were gonna go with different heat, but my brother-in-law wanted us to do that, and he's the plumber, so there you go.
Okay, and I was the one who, that site visit was mine. Basically, guys, it's exactly what they say it is. My only concern was, are you living in the house now? It looks
Right
like-
now, we are, yeah, but
in the old
in
house.
the old house, yeah. No, in the new house.
Not in the new house. We
Okay,
have,
alright.
we have some stuff in
We
there,
stopped.
but we have not ever lived in there. When Save told us we needed to come up here to get a variance, we stopped everything that we were doing inside.
Okay, all right, that was my only concern.
Yeah, it's ready,
Otherwise, it is what they say it is.
it's ready to final, but we didn't do anything in there other than get everything ready to final.
Again, I'll just reiterate, they do have a whole harmless cost from the county highway department in case a rock were to spit up over that hill and hit the side of the house.
Yeah, we signed the variance, they did the septic and everything, so.
Oh, so I'm gonna ask you a question. How exactly bad is your house?
Well, the foundation brick, it's an old brick foundation, built in 1933, I guess, is what I was told. And the bricks are cracking and, it would have costed way more to work on the house than it would have built.
And the walls are all cracking
There,
on the
yeah, everything's
inside.
just moving, it's just an old house, just.
When wind blows, we're not sure sometimes if we're gonna make it through the wind.
Through the wind,
I'm
is
just
that bad?
being honest.
And we've lived there this will be 41 years, and I love Noble County, so That's why we decided instead of trying to just sell and move out, we would go ahead and do that.
So my question for you is, question number 3, would you say that the strict application of the terms as far as practical difficulties go, if your variance wasn't approved, you basically wouldn't have a place to live?
No, it's this,
Not there, we would not, well, we wouldn't have, we would probably have to rent a place.
and the reason we did put it there is because the county pile runs right through the middle of my property. And I'd have to be too close to the county pile if I moved it anywhere other than where we put it, really.
The house is going to eventually cave in on us.
I got a neighbor to come over with his excavator, yeah, we're
So-
taking it down.
As if we get the variance, we can get in it and get the old house tore down. We already got somebody lined up to do that for us. So that's why we thought by July 1st, we should be able to have it down and whatever, taken care of for the old house.
And you guys can also see on this one picture that they do live on a sharp curve. So you gotta go slow by their house.
Well, that and the other house on the curve is actually like 20 feet. It's
But
close.
we don't do that.
Right.
No, I understand. We still have to put cabinets up in there, some cabinets, but other than that, it's pretty much done.
Well, and the furniture and all that
Well,
stuff
yeah,
haven't
that's-
been put in.
No, nothing else.
When she told us to stop, we stopped. We didn't put anything else new in there or anything add on to it.
I'll just ask, is there anybody present that wants to speak out against this petition? Okay. No, we have, thank you, I forgot about that.
We have one, undeliverable from Looker. And Jeff Wysong and Andrea Wysong, no comment.
Does the board have any questions? Once again, if the board doesn't have any questions, I would entertain a motion to move on to the findings of fact.
Make a motion to move on to the final tax variance number 2362.
A
Second
motion
that
from
motion.
Patty and a second from Mary. All those in favor of moving on to the findings of fact, respond by saying aye. Aye. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Teresa, we are ready to move on to the findings.
And all the standards, variance findings of fact for Ronald G. and Linda M. Kidd, variance number 2362. Physical location is 5478 South 500 West of Columbia City. Nome County Board of Zoning Appeals, having heard the application for the variance described in all the testimonies and parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed variance, now enters the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and Indiana Code. Your response will be to agree or disagree to the findings. Number 1, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Michael Kloppenstein.
I agree.
Patty Gatineau. Agree. Mary Morgan.
Agree.
Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Mary Morgan.
Agree.
Patty Gatineau.
Agree.
Michael Kloppenstein.
Agree.
Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
The strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Patty Gatineau.
Agree.
Mary Morgan.
Agree.
Michael Kloppenstein.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
Based on the findings, the board does approve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I gotta go back to work.
Yep.
I have grandkids for that.
Now you gotta get her house. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just-
And everybody drive very safe home. Because you get the bad weather. Shoot.
Okay, closer to you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, variance 2363, Huckstetler, Mervyn J. and Martha Sue Trust, in accordance with Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 813, requested development standards variance to allow an extension of the prior approved variances 1590, 1744, to include an expansion of 4,056 square foot to an existing furniture business structure and to allow screened outdoor storage with no more than 10 outside employees. Real estate is located in section 1 of Perry Township, quadrant 100, parcel 1, common location known as 11811 North, 600 West, 57 Topeka, Indiana. Please state your name and your address.
Good evening, I'm Scott Ziegler, handle the file surveying 5678 West, 350 South Elm, Indiana, representing Mervyn here, and John introduced themselves.
I'm Merv Boseller, address is 11811 North 600 West, Topeka.
John Schreier, 11322 North 700 West -57.
I want to have John explain to you a little bit about the business first, what we're doing, how it started, and how it's going to grow, then I'll get into some of the findings of fact and some of the comprehensive plans. John, you can start off.
So just basic information on me is Merv's neighbor. And I love working in Noble County and I always encourage people to be legal, try not to hide anything in Noble County, any county for that matter, but Merv's outstanding. He's always asked questions before just doing it and then asking for forgiveness afterwards. So I commend Merv for that. His business is a outdoor lawn furniture poly business, and we know that's seasonal. So his problem has been to stock up to meet the demand in the spring. You all know in the spring, everybody has spring fever, they all want furniture. So do we take less employees during the year, kind of lay them off and then bring them back when the spring rush comes and then to keep up with the demand? Or we do this to where they can stockpile their supply during the winter, keep the employees the same. Maybe add 1 or 2 office workers as the business grows, but that's the vision, long-term vision here. He currently has about 1 truck delivering or picking up there per day, and the semis is, I think you said, about every 1 semi every 4 to 6 weeks delivery. And the neighborhood where it's in is, this I think will fit perfectly in there. It's got the RV business, it's got Spike's Bait and Tackle, and it's got another business on the opposite side of him. So it's in harmony with the neighborhood. I live across the field, and if you go the road past Merv's spot there, it's a wholesale only business. 90% of us aren't even gonna realize that there's a business there. It's that discreet. I just think it's a perfect opportunity for Mervyn and Noble County to grow this business together. It started in 2000 with just Merv. UDOs changed, needed a variance to be legal, all that stuff. As the business grew, they currently have 6. He's applying for 10. It might never get to that, but I imagine that you'd want to entertain the 10 possibly instead of 7 and then changing the employees every year is why, hence we took the 10 so that he can add. It's a wholesale business, as I said, and a seasonal business, and I can speak highly of Merv. I wouldn't be here because I think Teresa understands, or the big thing is how big can a business get before it's a hindrance in the country. And I can honestly say, I think this will fit well in that. It's with other businesses. It's not a new business out in the middle of nowhere. I think it's kind of, in my opinion, it would fit well. That's all I have for business part of it, or if you have any questions.
So adding on to that, again, this tract size is 5 acres. Mervyn's owns 5 acres right now. So by nature of the size of the tract, this expansion is basically going to be dead. There's really no feasible way to really expand on the property beyond that. So if the business grows beyond what we're asking for here, it's really at the point of moving off-site somewhere else. So, if you're worried about a little business turning into a monster 100,000 square foot, manufacturing facility, that's not gonna happen here because it just simply just isn't the room there. John talked about the conformity of the neighborhood, it matches with what's out there, and in fact, it's going to, you're really not even gonna know it's there. The size of the buildings are really consistent with other homesteads in the area. So I wanted to point out and wanted to look at the comprehensive plan a little bit as we make our presentation here. So page 11 in the comprehensive plan is talking about regional context and partnership and growth. It talks about, the area of Northeast Indiana needing to grow population. And in order to do that, we need talent, we need a business climate, we need entrepreneurship, we need infrastructure and quality of life. It's 5 pillars it talks about there. And I think the main focus is these small businesses are, I think, extremely key to that vitality and that growth. As these small businesses succeed and are able to reasonably expand, we add jobs, which we need to continue to add. If we're going to add people, we have to have jobs for those people, and we prefer to have those jobs at home rather than them having to drive, 30 miles away or something to get to their job in Fort Wayne. So the more of these small businesses we can have, the better the local economy is going to be. And LaGrange County is a unique county. They just went through a comprehensive plan a year or so ago. And one of the unique things about LaGrange County is the fact that they've got an immense amount of small businesses there. And if you think of a normal business and that revenue that business generates, the standard economic model would be that money moves 3 times around. So if that business grosses $1 million a year, then there's $3 million of impact to that local community. With a large amount of small businesses all kind of bouncing off of each other, LaGrange is up to the 7-fold. So about more than double a normal community. So if you bring in a big business, 100 employees, that's ownership is somewhere outside of the county, then that money, we don't really see much of it here at the local level. But the more small business we can have in the community, the stronger our economy is and the more resilient we are to economic downturns. And I think that's really what the comprehensive plan talks about and envisions. It very rarely in the comprehensive plan talks about encouraging massive, large businesses to come to the county. It talks numerous times about small businesses there. If we look at page 20, it talks about a mix of uses in the community. They're talking about, this is specifically in the residential section, but I think the principle is the same. It talks about a mix of uses in the community to promote a walkable neighborhood. But what we have in a lot of these small businesses are people being able to walk to these small businesses, which then reduces the impact on the need for the infrastructure. So in most of the cases here, we believe our employees are going to come within a mile or 2 at the most. So probably walking, riding a bike, maybe an occasional buggy. So again, the impact or the need on the infrastructure is substantially reduced versus if none of the businesses are happening here and everybody's having to drive, we got thousands of people having to drive out of the county somewhere else, and that's just more impact on our infrastructure. So the principle was there in this section for residential areas, but I think it also applies in great magnitude to business as well in the economy. If we go over and look in the next section here I had, and this is interesting. So in the comprehensive plan, it's talking the section here on economy. And it mentions here under policies, the most impactful economic development activities involve nurturing the existing businesses that call Noble County home. So it specifically mentions that your ordinances, so this is comprehensive plan, all the ordinances, UDO and everything else, that needs to encourage and nurture existing businesses, which that's what this exactly is an existing business. And I think being able to allow those to grow. And it even mentions in the next sentences, by working with local companies to increase their market share, that they can create additional jobs. So right in the comprehensive plan is talking about creating additional jobs, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we believe we are clearly conforming with the comprehensive plan on this. And then the next section here, it also talks about action steps. So the action step is to recognize that small businesses are the backbone of the community. It is important for the community to support local entrepreneurs and proprietors. We also have to continue to reevaluate our strategy. It goes on to mention that. But again, the focus is Local businesses, entrepreneurs are very, very important to the economy. And then a couple more sections here. We talk about implementation. Here is really the last section we want to look at. It talks about conflict, so reducing or minimizing conflict. It points out that land conflict does not include a mix of uses, but rather specific land conflicts. So that's one of the findings of fact is we really don't believe this is a conflict in any way just because there's a multitude of uses. There's a couple of different, as we mentioned, like 4 different businesses right here almost side by side. So those in and of themselves don't create a conflict. There's really harmony between those. But we can make decisions that would, it mentions if it's a major industry, then that probably has to go to industrial park. That would be a 100 employee operation would be a conflict, and that maybe needs to go in an industrial park. But having a mix of uses is not in and of itself a conflict, and we can easily put some things in place that might mitigate any sort of perceived conflict, such as screening, fencing the outside material there. If you say, okay, well, the building that we're adding, maybe we don't like that large of a building, we could easily put some screening if you so requested, between that building and the road that would buffer that use there. And again, what we're asking for, I believe, is really similar in size to the adjoining neighbor to the south that has the RV repair business there. So, and again, it makes a big point in implementation, that making decisions to protect individuals' right to enjoy their property. So again, we would argue that this is an enjoyment of Murph's property here would be him being able to work and operate a small business on his own property or not having to go to town to work. So that's enjoyment, just like somebody wanting to hunt deer on their property or whatever, that enjoyment is taking the place of operating your own business on site there. So with that, just to touch base on the findings there, the first finding is, would the approval be injurious to the public health, safety, and morals and general welfare of the community? We say no. We're providing jobs, we're supporting jobs. We've had a business there for 20 plus years, 2 variances. We're not aware of any issues that anybody's brought forward with the business. We obviously we're expanding. We know there's a need there. We've got some outside storage. We're trying to screen. We're trying to make sure that we are in compliance with all the ordinances in place. So we don't believe that in any way this is injurious to the public. And then the second point is the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance would not be adversely affected. Again, we believe this use, the expanded building is conforming with that entire area there. Again, if you look at that, 4 businesses, at least in Noble County right there together, right across the county line, another repair business. Up and down 600 West, there's a number of other businesses there. So that's really just the norm there. It really does conform with the neighborhood out there. And again, it's predominantly an Amish neighborhood, and the Amish neighborhoods are a mix of uses, some agricultural use, maybe a small business, homestead, and maybe a little production agriculture in there too. And then the third would be the strict application of the ordinance will result in practical difficulty for use of the property. So we don't believe there's any difficulty we've created. If anything, Mark being successful by adding employees, up to 6 new employees over the time of the business, plus, possibly going up to 10, that's a good thing. And this is something that I think the county ought to encourage as well. But it's the ordinances that's really creating the practical difficulty here. If the ordinance the UDO was applied and we weren't allowed the variance, we wouldn't be allowed to expand the business, which again, the comprehensive plan clearly, I wouldn't say dictates, but encourages businesses to continue to grow. So the practical difficulty would be we're going to have to locate the business somewhere else, and that's going to be super expensive to do and not really practical at that point. So again, the practical difficulty is really the ordinances and specifically with the number of employees on that note, you've taken the home-based business 3 down to 0. So we can't even fall in there even with what we currently have, although we're okay with our variance there. But again, we're asking for the reasonable expansion of a business that really is conforming to the neighborhood. And again, the practical difficulty will be the ordinance itself. But
Can you not say, Scott, that some of the practical difficulty is the fact that you've got 2 previous appeals that were passed and you was allowed to grow to this size?
suppose you could say that.
Okay, that's all.
You guys done?
Yeah, I guess we entertain any questions.
Staff.
I was okay, I just wanted to point out on the back of your staff report, we did have Rachel gathered some of those uses that Scott was talking about, that are in that area. And then they're also located on it, a little bit of a cheat sheet, I think, with names and types of businesses, I think are in there as well.
While you're on that, you missed one. Clear at the corner, we just had, there was some approval, BZA for the wild animal auction or.
That's right next door, isn't it?
No, that's up in the corner, couple.
Couple houses
Two
up.
properties up,
Yeah,
yes.
it's 2 houses farther up.
Yeah.
I thought she had that on her list.
Back to the aerial picture.
Not that one.
Yeah, that would show, you see the existing building, and then what we're proposing is to the south, which would be toward that other RV business there. And then I think boxing in that existing gravel, and I think, didn't you say we're squaring up from the building over,
You mean more of the storage?
still outside storage, yeah.
Yeah, that will all move back with the building that we're at.
And then that'll be screened, so that'll be up the screen.
Where are those pallets in this picture? Thank you.
They would be backing up and over.
They're behind them. They're right over there. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then the only way to see that really is you can see those buildings almost come to a point together there. So it's really, even that stuff is really hard to see
You can a little bit
from the road.
I had one picture, Scott, see if it helps.
Yeah,
That's
see,
from the road.
you can see right there on the bed of that pickup truck, that's your only real view to that. And I guess if you really even had a concern for that, I suppose we could put some gates there and actually screen everything from view.
With the RVs being gone, I don't know how much of it you could see, because there was quite a few there
Yeah.
on site.
Yeah, to the south, there's quite a few RVs that are backed up, waiting to be worked on or waiting to leave. So, but again, I think we were planning on screening that whole area there with those privacy fence or whatever the county requires there. So again, whatever stored outside would be screened from view.
I will say, I don't know if, for those of you that may not have gotten on site, there is plenty of room to get in there, turn around and move around.
Oh, yeah.
Go back to the aerial again.
This one?
Yeah, and if I'm correct, it's also the property to the south that got me called into the office for saying how we use the Board of Zoning Appeals for a forgiveness instead of a set of rules.
I don't.
I do, but that's all right. I don't forget nothing.
We did do a site visit since we were already there on him, and he was compliant with his variance at that time, so.
So I want to commend you, Murph, on not using this as a board of forgiveness.
And I guess for clarification, if we could, just on the variance, we're asking for the 10 employees, which originally, I think it was up to 6 on the last variance. So 10 employees, the building there, we would be screening the outside, which I think is a requirement no matter what, so we do that. And then the only other thing I guess wanted to bring up is a small caveat, until we can get that building built and usable and past all the inspections, because we're coming up on the spring season, we'd like to be able to use temporarily for another few months, or at least within a month after the building's occupied, another building to store a few of the finished products in, so it'd be. So, again, this main building here is the one that would be our business plus the expansion, the other would be agricultural buildings, but again, if possible, because we're trying to come up on the spring market there. So,
I haven't taken anything you said, Scott, you didn't mention West.
Put it in there?
No,
You said that when you told the address to begin with.
well, I was just gonna remark.
And it's gonna have a lower speed limit, so that's.
600 West has all the traffic on Tuesday, 600 West has the double whites coming down it. All the time,
Yeah.
there's plenty of traffic on 600 West, and the road is designed to hold that stuff.
The road is in good shape and has maintained good shape.
It's not like we're creating an issue with 600 West.
No, the traffic in and out of our business is extremely negligible of what's going up and down that road.
And I would say, I think there's fair site distance.
Yeah, it's flat. You can see clear to the intersection, no problem, and I think it's flat, almost, probably the next intersection, you can almost see down to 1,000, so
In the interest of time, is there anybody here who wants to speak out against this one? Okay, Teresa, comment.
I don't even get to go talk about my site visit.
I'm going to give that to you, just patience, patience.
I
Super comment
will
card.
exercise patience.
Mark Lambright, Christina Lambright, no comment. Martha Wingard and Linda Wingard, or Nathan Wingard, I'm sorry, approved. Mervyn's are good neighbors. Mary Miller, Marvin Miller, no comment. Marion Hostetler, Karen Hostetler, no comment. Jeremiah Hostetler, Abby Hostetler, no comment. Calvin Hostetler, no comment. Marvin Fry and Orland Lee Fry, this is perfect, fine. I can't read the last word. And then, we had a no deliverable for LK Schrock Farms.
Okay. Mary.
Yes, this was my site visit. I went out there and I sat in the drive for a little while looking around. You really can't see anything from the road. Just that stack of pallets, that's it. And it, as long as it's not infringing on another property, I don't see a problem with the way things lay, where the addition is going. It doesn't look like it's gonna impinge on anybody else's property or their use of the property.
Are there any other questions of the board? Any other questions? If none, we'll entertain a motion to move on to the findings of fact of variance 2363.
I'll make the motion. Facts for variance 2363.
Motion for Michael, do I have
I'll
a second? A second for Mary. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving on to the findings of fact, respond by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we're ready.
Development standards variance findings of fact for Marvin J. and Martha Sue Hostetler. Physical location is 11811 North 600 West in Topeka. The Noble County Board of Zoning Appeals, having heard the application for the variance described, and all testimonies from parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed variance is now in the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and Indiana Code. The approval of the variance will not be in interest of public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Mary Morgan.
Agree.
Patty Gatlin. Agree. Michael Klopfenstein.
Agree.
Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Michael Klopfenstein.
I agree.
Patty Gatlin.
Agree.
Mary Mormon.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
The strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Patty Gatlin.
I agree.
Mary Mormon.
I agree.
Michael Klopfenstein.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
Based on the findings of board as approved.
Thank you.
So thanks.
Moving on, variance 2364. JD and Amanda K. Miller, in accordance with the Noble County Unified Development Ordinance Article 2.03, request a use variance to allow for an extension of the existing use variance 2291 on approved May 3rd, 2023, allowing a specialty welding business for the assembly of chicken coops in an existing accessory structure. The additional request is to increase the number of employees to 10. Total employees increase traffic to approximately 3 to 5 material deliveries per week with approximately 10 trucks per week, removing finished product. Revise the hours of operation from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m. each day, and the business to use the entire barn. Real estate is located in Section 6, Perry Township, Quadrant 400, Parcel 2, common location known as 11688 North, 1200 West, Ligonier, Indiana.
Dustin Glick, I'm with Everhard Weimer Glick's office, 115 South Detroit Street, LaGrange, Indiana. With me here is Jay Miller, 11688 North, 1200 West, Ligonier, Indiana. And as you mentioned there, we did have a prior variance back in May, and that was the initial approval, May of '23. That was the initial approval to operate the welding business there, especially welding, and he creates portable chicken coops. That's the only thing created there. So he started this out as kind of a part-time deal. He was still working, a normal job and doing this part-time, but it has expanded, and with the business itself has grown in that he has such a demand that it's hard to keep up with. Also with some of the manufacturing factories and the RV industry is slowing down, people are looking for work, and he has people asking him for positions, and he desperately needs the bodies. And so what he's looking to do, of course, add previously, I think he had approval up to 5 employees. He'd like to have up to 10 outside employees. With the increase in demand, efficiency to stay efficient and keep product coming in and out, he needs the additional employees. That would also keep the work hours down. Otherwise, they're working quite late hours trying to keep up with the demand. Again, he's employing, most of the employees are from surrounding areas, usually bikes, buggies. They're coming from surrounding areas. So there's not a lot of traffic as far as employees coming in and out. Again, the deliveries, much like the demand, deliveries have to increase. He's projecting the increase in deliveries of materials, raw materials, most of which come in on gooseneck trailers, flatbeds, box trucks of that sort. That's usually the piping, the wire, the metal, everything that's coming in to be constructed. And with increased production, there's more outgoing deliveries. The finished coops are transported out in semis. He believes maybe 5 to 7 semis a week. And that's because they're loaded up, stacked, and shipped out. This is a wholesale business. 95% of what's produced there is wholesale. The other 5%, some specialty requests, but he doesn't have any retail hours. There's no space there for the public to come. He gets calls and some special order of some sort that he might do, but for the most part, these are all getting shipped out to surrounding counties and probably beyond that. And again, these are all chicken coops serving agricultural needs, and obviously there's need for these as this has grown well beyond what he had initially planned. Again, the traffic, while it is increasing, the road he's on there, 1200 West, paved county road, minimal people out there. There's not a lot of traffic on that road, but there's sufficient space, view for traffic to come in and out. He has 2 drives, one to go in, one to go out, turnaround space. There's no issues blocking roads or having any issues there. There's minimal neighborhood area, plenty of turnaround again for deliveries. The hours, he'd like to start a little earlier at 5 a.m. so you can finish up at 2. It's better schedule for employees to get done. They have other obligations as well. Some do still work part-time jobs, but I don't think the hours are going to affect anyone as there's minimal residents or neighbors in the surrounding area, surrounded on both sides by farmland, tillable farmland. The noise is minimal. The welding doesn't create much in the way of nuisance as far as noise is concerned. The loudest things are the saws that cut some of the materials. Everything is inside. There's no outside work being done, so all the noise is inside the barn there. Again, minimal neighboring properties, no complaints in the time he's been operating. And again, the only real expansion as far as the size of the business is just utilizing the entirety of that barn. Originally, it was the northern portion he was using. He has now planning to utilize that entire barn area because he just needs space for materials, set up. So he'd like to be able to use that barn, but he is not creating any new structures. So nothing new is being built. It's all being housed within existing structures that have existed on the property this entire time. Everything's going to be kept under the same roof there in that main barn in the middle of the property. I did want to address a couple things Teresa brought to my attention in the minutes from the prior meeting. And there were some statements about expansion. And again, I guess my response to that, it was understood that he wouldn't be able to expand this property more or less. I guess maybe that was a misstatement at that time, but the idea was that there's no room on the property to expand additional structures. The property is full if you've seen the overhead. There's just not a lot of room. The only place for any additional structures would be in front of that barn, and I don't think they'd meet any of the setbacks. So there's really no area to create any new structures, any new manufactured facilities there. The only option would be to utilize the structures that are there, and that's what he's planning to do. If he needed more under-building space, he would have to relocate. There's no room for any additional structure manufacturing space there. I think he's pretty well, the property's pretty well full as far as that's concerned. And again, he's creating an ag product. If he's unable to expand here, he would have to find suitable space elsewhere, more than likely somewhere in Millersburg. He'd have to find some property to, build or take over an existing manufacturing building. Or even if he bought land around the area, that wouldn't solve the problem here, because he's, again, not asking necessarily to expand beyond the means of the property, but to increase employees and increase the deliveries in and out. There's plenty of room for deliveries and everything there. The business itself, as it was before, low impact, not a lot of intrusion or noise or anything generated from the property. All the products created here will be served in neighboring communities, ag-related businesses. No obstructions, no issues there. There's the outside storage is all located behind the building, waiting pickup. Any of the finished products are behind the barn, waiting pickup and delivery, but they're pretty efficiently in and out, trying to get rid of all the finished material, so there's not a lot of pile up there. Again, from the outside view of the property, the expansion of the request to extend the prior variance, you wouldn't notice from the outside. Nothing visually is changing. Again, there's no new structures, nothing new happening outside. It's all within that building that's already existing there. So from the outward appearance, no new changes would happen to the property. You wouldn't know that anything different's occurring there than has been approved previously. Again, that's kind of where we sit today. As far as the ins and outs of the business, Mr. Miller can probably address some of that stuff. But again, we don't believe it to be injurious to the public health, safety, general welfare of the community. There's sufficient turnaround, no obstructions to the public. You wouldn't know the business was there unless you pulled in to check it out, or you needed a chicken coop and found them somewhere to order them. Use and value area of the adjacent property is not going to be affected. There's minimal properties out here. He's surrounded by farmland. He's not affecting anybody, not affecting anyone's property values. His property is zoned ag, and the 3.78 acres, give or take, is enough to do traditional farming operations. So this is a good use of the property for ag purposes. Condition peculiar to the property, again, this is similar to the beginning, is that the business itself isn't changing much from the beginning, other than adding some employees and adding production under the same roof, under the existing roof. So again, the business itself wouldn't be able to remain here. He's run out of ability to hold off the orders at this point, so he would have to relocate. So this business is, without the variance, is a short shelf life at this property. You'd have to find somewhere else suitable, likely outside the county. Strict application, constant unnecessary hardship. Again, the variance itself, the use was already approved. This is just an expansion upon that use, and that, again, the employees, the deliveries, hours, outward appearance, or the use of the property is not changing in any way. He's using it just the same as he had prior approval for. And again, the comprehensive plan, promotes development, bringing business to the county. This is a type of business that's suitable for agricultural area, agricultural use, agricultural production. Makes sense in this area. It's got suitable amenities to operate this business and utilize it in this location. So we just think this is the appropriate use of the property. But again, we are understanding that, there's no room on this property for any additional structures. What's there is what's there. If he has to go beyond what the buildings allow at this point, he will have to relocate. This is just, again, keeping everything under roof of what's existing, not adding on. Anything you want to add?
Thing I'd like to add is
The most that has changed in the production from the first time to this time, we started making our own vinyl covers that go on the chicken coop. It's more of a silica glue. We used to get them from Shipshawana, the company, the canvas shop. So we moved that to our location and build them ourselves rather than buying them in from a different location. So that's another reason why there's more labor hours involved than what we had initially. We're planning on it, was because of the covers. It's more labor than, the weld shop itself.
What are the rest of your buildings?
The one in the back is a confined
Yeah,
unit.
down here.
And
Where's
then
your house?
the house, and there's a garage attached to the house. And then there's just a pole barn.
What do you
At the bottom.
use the
This
pole
is,
barn for?
this one's the house, right?
Yeah.
And then that's a barn.
What do you use
That's,
the pole barn for?
as of now, it's storage is permitted to follow calves, but we're just using that storage. I got some chickens in there, and chicken coops. In the winter, I'm gonna put chicken coops in there.
You have hogs?
So your confined feeding swamp,
Mhm.
and you got bottle caps.
It's permitted, but yeah,
You have bucket caps.
we quit that once we started with the, but it's still permitted to do that if I want to.
No, currently you're not. That doesn't matter. You've
Yeah.
got bucket caps right now.
No
But it's-
on-site sales,
What's that?
no on-site sales, it's all wholesale.
I'd say 95% wholesale. And then if they want, usually I deliver them if it's retail.
Before we can, is there anybody here that wants to speak against this one? Okay, all right, continue, Teresa.
I just have one more, well, actually a couple. Building department, maybe, and I should have mentioned this in the last one, based on the number of employees, you may have some requirements by the state, so we need to make sure if this is approved, that they're gonna need, what they're gonna need you for that. How many units per week? Cause you have semis coming out, 7 semis per week?
Probably.
Roughly how many units are on a
Um,
semi? I'm just curious.
Right, when we send them out, R&L Carriers is our shipping company. And we've got somebody who sells them online, so we ship those direct to the customer with R&L. So right now, we're roughly around 15 coops per week. We used to build more, but we wouldn't make the cover to go over it. The covers we wouldn't build on site, so if we just go directly with welding, we could probably build more, get up to 30, but since we're building our own tarps, there's more labor involved.
Okay, comment cards.
I'm being patient.
Still a Mary over there.
I'm being patient.
Always gonna say, because I'll forget.
Actually, we have one that was undeliverable for Delbert and Sarah Chuck.
Okay, Mary, you're ready.
Okay, well, I went to the site and you can't see anything. The picture that we have you can't see anything in the operation at all. From outside, from the road, from either end of the property, you can't really see anything. You have to get right up in there to see stuff. There's only one house that's closed, and that's across the road.
Yeah, it's not.
I did notice you have 3 driveways there. Did you go to the highway department on all 3 of those? Because the last time we were there, did you have one that went on the north to the barn? That was always there?
Did you buy it with the 3 driveways?
Yeah, okay. I didn't remember the third one.
Go back a couple, I got a couple of questions.
Oh, wrong one.
What's the, your property line goes into that farm field, why is that this?
Can you scroll down any? You see there's a jog in the bottom. And there used to be a building back there is what the neighbor told me.
Oh, so they
So,
framed around it.
yeah, so he farms that, we take care of the bottom left corner there is our lawn.
So you might as well
So probably trade.
So you probably should do that, trade property.
Okay, my next question for you in your original variance, why didn't you include the entire building?
I think at that time, he was only utilizing the north end, and he didn't think he needed the south end, but now. Means a little more workspace. He just had storage in that south building.
Yeah.
What building are you talking about?
The south portion of the.
The bank barn,
The white roof.
The one-
yeah, the bank barn.
I think I remember this, that you wanted to keep it as hay storage at the time,
Yeah.
when that was with the original, that first variance.
Is what I had in there was, yeah, storage.
Squid, you don't. Okay. Was you storing the hay for somebody else? Cause there's
Just
an awful
no.
lot. What?
Just for my personal use. I mean,
The
12
horses.
12 to 20 bales a day, a year. Just storage in there.
Okay, that's a lot of storage for 12 to 20 bale.
Not just hay storage, but storage in there.
We're talking round bales though, right?
Well, still, that's
Still,
you know,
that's a
more
big
on
old
the-
barn, yeah.
When you take it on the vinyl covers, does that change the equipment that you have to have?
He's got to have a sewing machine.
Sewing machine
Or-
and a
Barometer.
and a torque welder, or a fabric welder, vinyl welder. they'll use.
And the other thing, I don't wanna make this sound like a congressional hearing, but did you, or did you not say, in the event that Mr. Miller ever needed to exceed those proposed numbers, he would need to be forced to relocate?
Well, and I looked over that.
I'm just like government, yes or no?
We got you, we got you.
Yes or no?
Well, yes or no. I think it again, in my BZA plan commission mind, I'm thinking expansion, meaning new buildings, you're adding buildings, like the last one.
Let the record show we pointed to it.
So, yes, that's what the minutes say, I can't dispute the minutes, but yes, in my mind of mine, thinking expansion is always more buildings, more space, more square footage, and that's, I guess what I was thinking, but yes.
I think that John had said this earlier in the last petition, that that's part of our concern, is getting too congested too quickly in these smaller neighborhoods. And so we have to make sure that we're not, and I think that was the intention with the prior meeting, was to make sure that we all understand. We'd like for you to get big in the right spot. So I think that was part of where that thought process for all of us was coming.
And that's another thing, I mean, it's up to you, I'm not asking for forgiveness. We got 5 employees now, it's up to you. I've got 2 other parcels in Elkhart, across the road, I got one, and then about 3-4 miles down the road, I have another. So, I mean, if you don't want a Noble County, that was another thing that you had said, try to keep it Noble County. So it's,
I was just careful what you say,
Yes.
let the record show we could not answer the question.
I don't dispute the minutes, if they're in the minutes, I'm sure that's what I said.
And it's just, why didn't you include it in your first one? But that's all right.
Well, the first one, I think you just had 1 full-time employee and 2 part-timers, so it was pretty small scale at that point now. Now your demand has reached kind of a fever pitch, so.
and with the price way is, if you in the store, that's, doesn't help my business.
So let me
Go
ask
back
you that
one day.
question again then, what happens if you have that next layer of needing to grow? What are you thinking? The beautiful
I don't
problem
have-
is
I
a
don't
lot
have
of
a
times your
problem. I don't have
businesses
a
get
plan.
really big, really
Probably across
fast.
the-
and-
Build a
Yeah.
new manufacturing building. across
As
the
of
street.
now, I don't have no.
I wanna bring this slide, it's gonna have no bearing on my decision. How many, those chicken houses you make, how many chickens do those for?
We've got 9 different sizes. 5 on the layer side. So that goes, the smallest size holds up to 10, and the largest size holds up to 100 chickens. Layouts. And then we've got 3 sizes in between. And then on the meat birds, we've got a 50 meat birds, like your broilers, 50 to 150, 3 different sizes, 50, 100, and then 100. Is what, I mean, some people put less, some people put more, but that's what our recommendation is.
The handy little chicken coops too. And there's almost no traffic on that road. I sat there, 3 cars went by. I sat there more than 15 minutes, 3 cars went by.
And again, this has no bearing on my decision, but I do want the board to know the things I know. What's your name?
Jay Moore?
This is the, one of the biggest reasons for avian influenza, it's backyard flocks. The more of these we put out there, the more they're gonna happen, the more they're gonna affect the large operations, and the price of eggs will continue to go up. Putting that out there. I do know that. For references, I do represent Indiana, United States Poultry and Export Council. But has no bearing on what I'm doing.
And the more flocks there are, the more diseases you have, the more people get their own.
It's true.
And the harder it is for the Board of Animal Health to control where those chickens are
It's true too.
at. Asking you for a site visit, are there any other questions? There's nobody here to speak against. I'm just going to reiterate, you are not, no new buildings. Correct? You're just moving into the one that was storage for your hay.
Not for the business, no.
Make me feel better, I can't do it, I'm the chairman, but I would entertain somebody from the board to put a commitment on this will be your last variance for expansion. If somebody will do that, if not, that's fine too. There's no further discussion. If somebody move on to the findings of fact. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. And if you need time.
I'll make a motion to move on findings of facts for variance number 2364 with the commitment of no more expansion over 10 employees.
I'll second that.
Motion from Michael and a second from Mary. Motion has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any
Can I
further?
clarify the motion, because I could have heard it one of 2 ways. No expansion beyond the 10 employees, or no expansion for structures? And
Technically, it should be
only
for
10
both.
employees.
It should be.
I'm
no
just making sure,
structures.
because 10 employees is what you're saying for, but no expansion for structure, no structure expansion,
What about personal structure?
no business structure expansion. Is that what you mean, Mike?
Yeah, business. Yep. Is that feasible?
You go with the second motion.
Yes.
Well, he's asked for 10. So that's as requested. At 10.
I just wonder why we would put a limit, why would we care? Yes, to come
And I
back.
could probably weigh in on that. The last time it was because we were kind of mirroring home-based business 3, and I think that allowed up to 5. That's why the previous was 5, because we were in all respects meeting the home-based business 3 standards, even though it wasn't permitted in the A3, because for some reason this property's A3 and everything around it's A1. And it's probably because the CFO is why it's an A3.
That's a valid point. If it was zoned A1, he would have not have needed to come to you for that first variance. That's
Because it
valid.
was A3, we either had to rezone but then if we rezoned, I think we had setback issues with the CFO in the back. So for some reason, we went the
Yeah.
use that made the most sense, streamlining economy.
That does make sense, because that building's been so close to the CFO. Okay. Makes sense.
Okay, motion has been properly moved and seconded. Is there any
Has
more
it had a
further?
second? Did it have a
Yes,
second?
Mary.
Okay. So no business structure expansion, basically.
More than 10 employees. Any further discussion?
Transferable, non-transferable, which the original variance.
I
was
think the previous
transferable.
one said non-transferable, if I recall. I think it said that. This owner. Yeah, no on-site retail, non-transferable, future owner was the prior, so.
So that doesn't need to be in our motion because that is part of,
The original variance. We're just expanding on the original variance.
Again, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving on to the findings of fact, respond by saying aye. All those opposed? Teresa, we can move on, but I do have a question. How come you've got 5 questions and,
Type of variance.
yeah, I know, but.
Use versus development is harder to obtain.
Okay, all right. Okay, ready to move on to findings of fact.
Use variance findings of fact for J.D. and Amanda K. Miller in care of Dustin Wood. Variance number 2364. Physical location is 11688 North, 1200 West on Living Year. The Noble County Board of Zoning Appeals, having heard the application for the variance described in all the testimonies and parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed variance, does not enter the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and Indiana Code. Number 1, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Patty Gavin.
I agree.
Michael Kloppenstein. Mary Woman.
Agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Mary Woman.
Agree.
Patty Gatman.
Agree.
Michael Kloppenstein.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
That the need for the use arises from some condition peculiar to the property. Michael Kloppenstein.
I agree.
Patty Gatman.
Agree.
Mary Warman.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
The strict application of the terms of the ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is being sought. Patty Gatman.
I agree.
Mary Warman.
Agree.
Michael Kloppenstein.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I disagree.
Give me a reason.
He's already running a business there. The property can be used as it is.
The approval does not interfere substantially with the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Mary Warman.
Agree.
Michael Kloppenstein.
I agree.
Patty Gatman.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
Based on the findings, the board does approve the expansion.
Can I ask you a question? What size does this hold? How many chickens would this hold?
Layers of growth.
So
It's over my
back. So you can pull the wheels down and move it. Is that what it is?
And that's a nest box, it's the silver building back in the old. It's open back.
So there's like an
Lift the lid
internal
and
cage
pull
where
out
they
the
can kind of
eggs,
house
not
it at
have to
night,
climb in
right?
there with the
And then
chickens.
they can kind of roam a little bit more.
Yeah,
He is right. The higher the eggs go, the more these will sell. And the eggs will continue to get higher and higher because the big guys will keep getting these.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, 50 cents an egg, great.
Kroger's having a deal for
What?
Kroger had a deal, $1.50 for 18.
Uh-oh, we're all shopping on the way home. You have to have your egg milk sandwich.
Do you know why they're $1.50 for 18? It's because
Right, they're expired.
eggs don't expire for a really long time.
Right,
But they're getting old, so they don't do well for baking.
Did you know you can have an egg for 6 weeks unrefrigerated?
Yes, you can leave it on the counter.
Don't wash
Don't wash
Wash
it, wipe it off,
I
and
heard
wash
you
it.
put mineral oil on it.
the ones
We
that
need
you buy in the store or the ones that you're getting out of your kitchen?
I'm
Not
not
the
gonna talk about
ones you get at the
chickens.
store.
Right,
I
the
will
ones you
never
get out
have
of your
chickens.
chicken coop.
The ones you get out of your.
I will keep all chickens off my property, I promise.
I love chickens.
Variance.
Having chickens.
Variance 2365. Ricky J. Weber, in accordance with Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, request 2.04, request development standards to allow for less than the UDO required minimum dwelling size of 1,200 foot to be at 1,118 square foot for the construction of a primary use dwelling. Real estate is located in Section 5, Green Township, Quadrant 100, Parcel 2, common location known as west of 055 South 200 East Albion, Indiana.
Good evening. All right, my name is Ricky Weber. 3019 Willow Oaks Drive, Fort Wayne, Indiana. This has been my family's land. We've had the land for over 40 years. I grew up, I have not just that tract, I actually have the tract to the west, to the north, to the north, to the north. I have 5 tracts of land, just over 100 acres. I grew up on the land. The park is my south neighbor, so I pretty much landlocked this piece of land. I grew up on the land, farmed it with my dad and my grandpa, hunted it, fished it, hiked it, rode ATV through it. Was able to do the same thing with my children. They were able to go up and they've been able to share this land. 8 years ago, when my father passed away, I inherited the land in the arrangement as he was dying. He had arranged the selling of Sean and Norma Rakowski, who is a lifelong friend of ours. With that, I lost the ability to actually occupy the land. So since I live in Fort Wayne, everything is a drive up, drive back, drive up, drive back. I'm a 30-year combat veteran, retired from the military. The land had a lot of connection as I was going through PTSD therapy and counseling. And I've tried to maintain more and more contact with this land. But now not having the house, it creates a lot to go back and forth. I live south of Fort Wayne. My parents divorced at a young age. I live in the house that I grew up in with my mother. I inherited that when she passed away. So, and I was 22, and me and my wife were newly married. We took over her house and helped raise my little brother. So I have a deep connection to that house. So I'm not free to just jump up and build up here and live up here all the time. And yet I have to manage both pieces of property on a retired veteran's pension. So I'm trying to do everything I can to stay connected to the land, to keep my children who are growing up connected to the land. And as they've gotten older, we've decided that I would really like, originally I came up and I was very clear with the commission. I just wanted to build a garage with a bathroom, because I go up there all day. I don't want to go to the bathroom. Well, I mean, as in the Army, I have no problem with it, but I know it's not good. So I wanted to have a simple place. If I'm up and I'm cutting wood or I'm hiking and I slush through my creek or into my wetlands, that I can rinse off before I climb in a vehicle and drive 45 minutes. So originally I just simply wanted to build a garage with a bathroom in it. As I talked to them, there was a lot of limitations with that. If I spent the night, I think it was 3 times, I had to be in a code violation. I spent 30 years in the military. I don't want to break a code. I want to be upfront and transparent with what I want to do. So we decided at that point we'd be better to call it a residential. But my budget was to build about a 24 by 30 garage with a bathroom. And so I kind of pushed it as big as I could, in which I would have a bathroom, a small space that would be a kitchen, a loft that maybe I could sleep, and some garage space. It was going to be about 900 square feet of living and about 200 square feet of garage. Because of some confusion in how I wrote up my application, it was all shown. So I've now forfeited the garage space, and I'm pushing myself as far as I can to be at this square footage, to make this affordable, to maintain my budget and be able to do this. Knowing that I will now come up with some money in the next year or two to build a separate garage to store a tractor and my 4-wheeler. But I really want to create this space that I can share with my family, with my wife and my kids out here, and be able to stay connected to the land, because it's really hard to own it, especially up here, to not be able to go up and use it and not be able to actually keep some sense of security that other people aren't encroaching on it.
Okay. Teresa, any comment first?
Yeah, I'll go back to kind of the staff report too a little bit. There was some confusion within the advertisement of this. When I was doing the staff reports was when I noticed that this findings of fact and the application were not lining up for me. So we had Sarah call and I'll be honest with you, I was in and out sick that couple of weeks, so it was hard. But I think he decided to go ahead and move forward with what we have
Yes, I've,
get the variance done tonight.
right, like it's more square footage than what I wanted to have in the house. But because of the confusion, I'll own what was mine on that. I'm saying, okay, I'll forfeit the garage square footage, make it livable space. It's neither here nor there on that. And I'll deal with that, but I really want to get started on it. I have a lot of anxiety about wanting to move. It's been a very stressful situation. I think we probably talked off and on for almost 6 months, trying to get to this position from where I started at it, like a little 24 by 24, then 24 by 30. You know, now I'm 28 by 34. Like I've pushed myself
Yeah, and I think,
way beyond where I wanted. And all of the design, when we decided to go not garage, that your office was great. You said, if you want to call it a garage, just know this. And I know that that would not meet the long-term intent. So we didn't.
and we were concerned about people sleeping in a
Yeah,
garage. That was a
100%.
safety thing for our staff.
100% understood and in agreement with it. So to get there, everything is designed with modularity so that if something would change, if my son would graduate college and come back and decide to keep our family house and I could move up here, there's good access on every end of the building, hallway to where I could build a big attached garage. I could build and make it actually a nice, fully functional house down the road. It's not like some cobble that you have that this is all it can ever be. But it's a matter of managing where I am in budget to be able to do this and actually, do something positive with the land.
Comment cards, I only have one from Sean and Norma Koski, no comment. Did have a couple other images if that helps. That's a rough image on that site of where the location's going to be, 160 feet off the road. Rachel was able to go out for me that we can get some sites for you for a visual.
I ride my bike down to the end of that road all the time.
Yeah, there's nobody.
Yeah, there's nobody.
There's
I live around the corner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's nobody down here. I have
So you're probably the one that rides the four-wheeler up and down.
very rarely. There's actually Weeses, the Weeses across
The
the street.
Weeses do, the boys ride up and
Yeah,
down.
they ride up and down. Yeah, I mean, my family, we've had the land, we started at about 150, we go to 200, we go from 200 down to the park. We have had that, except for the chunk there that my father had the agreement to sell to Sean and Norma.
And the request is just under the UDO minimum requirement.
My house is under the UDO requirement. It's 1,170.
But you're not building new, you did.
Yeah, my dad's house was under it. It's the way of the world, I understand it.
So you got 5 tracks there, right?
Yes. I have 5 tracks, a little over 100 acres.
Who currently farms that?
Butch Knafel, he's farmed it for probably 20 years since he has farmed it ever since we quit farming it. Now his son actually is gonna farm it this year because Butch is getting his knees done, so his son, Tony.
Yeah.
I did walk up top of the hill, definitely looks like it'd be a great place to have a, living place.
I had the soil, I had Morton, lived right down at 400. He did my soil test. He came out, that way when we line everything up, we know where the septic and well will go. Mark Jackson has been down. He's gonna do all the site prep. He's already, like, when you went up there, he's the one that met me to say, be up this much on the hill, so we're not having to move as much land to get a flat, and what we wanna build down towards the woods, like terracing some of the landscape, kind of clean it up. Both of them, I think Morton has mailed you already the soil
Oh,
file.
probably.
Okay, he sent me my copy and said he sent a copy of
The
the
private
copy.
building department.
Okay, I didn't know where it went, I just know that that's been filed, we've taken care of that. Putting in a 1,500 gallon plant, it's put in a 1,500 gallon closed septic system with the plan. If we would ever occupy it as a heavier use, that it's already be marked out to where the drainage field, I think is the proper name, would go, so that everything is set up that if this would ever be more than an occasional use cabin, then everything would be set up for that we don't have any other problems.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
And that's a beautiful spot.
Mhm.
That's a gorgeous spot to put it.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim, for your service.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it was definitely a beautiful spot for it. I mean, I'd like to have a place like that. Piece of property, so the traffic, the road itself, it dead ends right there. So it doesn't go any further, so you're not getting any oncoming traffic from the south.
No.
I mean, it's,
The only people who go down that road are the people who live on it,
Yeah.
on that end of the road, so.
yeah, it's right down the road from where Mary lives.
Yeah, we have three.
I
We
wouldn't
have,
necessarily say that was a teenager one.
sorry.
What? Okay, are there any other questions?
That used to be a good place for teenagers.
No, the road.
That's more people moved in.
That's what I said, she said.
That's Lover's
nobody-
Lane, is that what you're telling us?
When old
Oh, I
man,
didn't do that,
when,
when we first moved there. Yeah.
when old man Weiss lived in the house, there was nothing. Now with his son living in the house and his grandsons, it's a much rowdier house now, so.
Yeah.
Yes,
They look-
to clarify the look on your face, she said, there's no reason anybody needs to go down the house unless they live there. And I said, not necessarily. As a teenager, I know that road well.
Well,
It
there's
actually
more
is
people on the road
surprising.
now than when you were a teenager.
It's surprising, there are a lot of times
It's a very
cars
nice,
that will
quiet spot.
park down there and go try to go mushrooming across.
Oh, they do all the time.
And then it chased a few off, so.
We've had campers drive all the way down to the end of the road, thinking they're going to the park.
Okay,
and have to turn
no
around.
comment, correct?
That's the one.
Okay. If there are no other questions from the board, I would entertain a motion to move on to findings of fact for variance 2365 with any commitments to the direction of the
Variance number 2365.
motion from Patty, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mary, motion is most properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving on to findings of fact, respond by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, Teresa, we are ready.
Development standards, variance findings of fact, Ricky J. Weber, variance number 2365. Physical location is west of 0559 south 200 east in Albion. The Milton County Board of Zoning Appeals having heard the application for the variance described and all testimonies from parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed variance is now under the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance and Indiana Code. Number one, the approval of variance will not be in interest of public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Michael Klopfenstein,
I agree.
Gary Warman,
Agree.
Patty Gatman, Tom Griffiths.
Agree.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property including the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Gary Warman,
I agree.
Patty Gatman, agree. Michael Klopfenstein,
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
And number three, the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Patty Gatman, Gary Warman,
Agree.
Michael Klopfenstein,
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
Based on the finding, the board does approve. One thing I was thinking about while we were wrapping that up is because you're gonna have it as a residential structure, which for safety reasons, you'll get an address.
Right, which would be great.
So that's another way of,
Yeah, and we talked about that in your office. I was completely okay with not having a big garage. Once we talked, it was just a matter of the square footage. I didn't want to build any bigger than what I absolutely
I
have
don't want
to, so
any
I
more
can
than I
build.
have to clean. But for
Mine's
staying out there and not
1170
having a
and
lot
it's too
around,
big to clean.
it might be
And
nice to have a.
We really wanted it as small as possible, just, to come up on weekends, to come up the day during hunting season, to get away for the two of us, to be able to get some break from the city, so, thank you.
My
We're
house
feeling
living
that more
space
and
is only
more.
975,
We get,
and in the garage, we turned it into living space. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that big.
Thank you.
thank you.
What's
Do
that?
you have your building permit?
I have not yet, so I will be up to see you. I will call Mark Jackson in the morning.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Next up. Ranks 2366. Benjamin and Allison Mead. In accordance with the Noble County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 5.16, requested development standards variance to allow less than the UDO required minimum setback from a private body of water of 25 foot to be at 14 for the construction of an accessory dwelling approved by special exception. 582 real estate is located in section 28 of York Township, quadrant 300, parcel 20, lot 5 and 6 of Whispering Pond subdivision, common location known as 1443 North Ridgewood Drive, Albion, Indiana. Name, address.
Ben Mead from 1443 North Ridgewood Drive in Albion. We were here last month with this proposal that was accepted to put this additional dwelling unit, so 20 by 40 roughly living space and 40 by 60 barn structure. And during that process, discovered that we omitted recognizing that we were inside the 25 feet close to our own pond. So this pond is crossing over our two properties, which are joined now, but it's fully within our own property. And so we were asking for an exception to be closer to the pond.
I don't have any other comments. I felt bad we didn't catch that earlier. We caught it just before the meeting, and I think part of it was someone else that was in our office trying to meet less than a 25-foot setback. So there you go. As far as comment cards go, we have a couple. Jim Clevenger, no comment. John Clapham wants to know how close to the lake and why, not the lake, it's your pond. We did have someone else in the neighborhood that was concerned about the lake behind you. So maybe that's where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Walter Hartley in favor, and James Sprague and Lorraine Sprague, no comment.
They're probably tired of getting comment cards.
Probably.
They at least responded.
You got one.
Yeah, I've done it there twice now, it's beautiful property, and it's a private pond, it isn't anything to do with anybody else, it's theirs. So we can't have it.
I got questions. Didn't we decide at the meeting that this was approved, that this is just gonna have to go back?
Yeah, we knew at the meeting he had to come back.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anybody speak against? Entertain a motion to move on to findings back, variance 2366.
Motion, so findings back for variance number 2366.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor of moving on to findings back, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
So where you are ready.
Development standards variance findings of fact for Benjamin J. and Allison and Mead, variance number 2366. Physical location is 1443 North Ridgewood Drive in Albion. The Noble County Board of Zoning Appeals, having heard the application for the variance and all testimonies from parties claiming to be adversely affected by the proposed variance, is now the following findings as required by the Unified Development Ordinance of Indiana Code. Number one, the approval of the variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Michael Klopfenstein.
I agree.
Patty Gaffney.
It's private property.
Sorry, Patty Gaffney.
I agree.
Mary Worman.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Patty Gaffney.
I agree.
Michael
I
Klopfenstein.
agree.
Mary Worman.
Agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
The strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property. Mary Worman.
I agree.
Patty Gaffney.
I agree.
Michael Klopfenstein.
I agree.
Tom Griffiths.
I agree.
Based on the findings, the board does agree.
Thank you.
Should have made him go first.
It's no private property.
We tried seeing if we could figure out how to do that,
I
but
mean, the meetings are interesting, but I'm not trying to come back next month.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
It's
you
good
all.
to see you.
Yeah, thanks.
John Tracy, you agree.
there's your environmental standards, that was the section of code.
Private bodies of water.
Yep. This is State Road 3, just north of Cree Lake. We're getting some compliance, but it's still not done. So we gave him 14 days, did not issue a fine because he is moving forward. this is the one, Everett, that I was talking to you about, that we're trying to get the Ligonier to take this over. It's in their 2 mile, which I don't know if you're aware of this, we can regulate the junk trash and debris in the 2 mile. But it really is a zoning violation. They came to a meeting, they're very clearly running a business.
They're the ones that
The two
came in,
ladies.
weren't they?
Yeah. And it's worse. I will tell you
There's
what,
more cars
there's
than
a
those last
heck
time.
of a lot more
Uh-huh.
cars than there were
You
this
remember that.
this spring.
Yes, I do.
So, yeah, I'm hoping that Ligonier will take this on as a zoning violation and we'll close it out.
But I think he was here by accident.
This is another one we'd like to have Ligonier take on. It's right next door. They have a bunch of boats that they know are theirs, but they're not their boats, so they're not sure why we're complaining about them.
They're just storing them, right?
So again, we're not getting anywhere. We're hoping Ligonier will take this one on as a zoning violation. This is Mrs. Addux. She's gotten some movement forward, correct, Rachel? But, she's actually had a fair amount of cleanup happening here, so we're just gonna keep working with her. Oh, she is on, you didn't put the address up there. Do you know what the address is on that one?
600 West, she's, Price car counts property. She's out of Cromwell, just right by the lake.
She's on a back road, not too much traffic.
Is that right there on the corner? The
Actually,
intersection?
there's the address on the image, Patty.
Oh, yeah, it's hard.
650 West and 600 West,
It
that
is.
intersection there.
Yep.
So if it's really overgrown, it's hard to see, so this time of year we can actually see quite a bit.
I know exactly.
She's
really
friendly,
looks like the
she's
one I
nice,
used to live
she's
in.
just hard to get around the office when we kind of are done with the conversation, but she does only. With that, we've got a couple that we turned over. We had a home-based business that you guys have seen, a guy cutting wood at Knapp Lake.
Yes.
We've shut the junk trash and debris down. We've turned around and did a zoning violation and issued him a $250 fine. And he called me. So he wanted whoever was coming to do the site visits to stop, and I'm like, and don't you stop any of my staff in the car when they're down there. That's not fair. They're there to do their job. You leave them alone and let them work. So we'll see if we get any. It was a little bit better, which you guys will see at Plan Commission, but it's still not good. So, and then Rachel saw a couple others that we were in the area that did.
One Gleason property, the case is closed.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
closed the one on Hutoka, which is right by where Jeff Boyle lives. We closed that out. The door's still open on this property. It's where the docks were.
Yeah, where the fire was.
It's clean enough. We shut it down. And then their personal property, the main thing is they have a boat. I don't know how this boat got here. House, boat, fence. They're all like within inches of each other. I think they had to build everything around. I don't know how they got that in there. So anyway, if the boat gets plated in, it can move, we'll close them out. But their main structure on 33, gone. It's beautiful. There is 2 boats out in the yard, but I let it go. We were over it.
That's better. It's okay.
And he had passed away and she had called and was very upset and he evidently wasn't communicating with her this stuff. I said, that's fine, I'm sorry that you lost him, but at the same time, I got you to get you to hear me. We need to move forward.
What happened, was there any more on Holly over at the lake with the chickens?
No. So we were out there again. She scared the GBs out of Rachel not too long ago. Probably have things to say to me. She sent in an application, but it wasn't quality of what we needed. So the girl sent it back with a cover letter saying, here, this is not what you need to do. Here's the steps that we need. And there's a fine. I mean, there's a fee that comes with putting those in.
Oh, she will not
So-
respond to my
And
letters,
now she's not responding.
but she will approach me when I'm in the vehicle.
Sorry. That's bothersome. She moved from one lake to another lake.
Yes, she had said there were some problems with someone at the other lake.
She was informed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sympathetic, but that's still not the animals. You know, she does have a lot of roosters and chickens. You can hear them when you drive by.
Last time she had 18, but I don't know what she is now.
I bet
That's
it's
a lot of chickens. And they're all named. And some of them she's like repaired, like one
Well,
dog
that's
had a
what she
broken
said.
leg
She
or
says
something, and
I've
she fixed his
had them
leg.
since I hatched them and they're like her her babies. But
So in case of being the cat lady, she's the chicken lady.
she's a poultry lady, she has more than just chickens.
She's dogs and chickens.
She's a bird lady.
More chickens.
Bird lady, yeah.
I'm gonna go back on that subject, this whole chicken thing. Once it breaks with all these poultry barns and Chipsy in the Peak area, there's gonna be hell to pay.
Well, there are a lot of them, a lot of Amish. My husband builds the refrigeration systems for them. So there's a lot of them up there.
I'm referring to the backyard ones. He's gonna go create it for those
Yeah,
guys.
for the small, but it's gonna make a problem for the bigger egg layers.
But there wouldn't be a problem if, people probably wouldn't want that if eggs were reasonable.
But the reason they're not reasonable is because you keep wiping out the chickens, and the more backyard flocks you have, the more large flocks you're gonna wipe out.
We've had bird flu like every 3 or 4 years go through the flocks, big time through the flocks in the
But that
last.
could be coming from
If you wanna
outside of domesticated animals.
not talk about birds and make a motion to,
Yeah, we're still in the,
we're still on record.
Sorry,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Motion to adjourn properly moved and seconded by Michael and. All right. Meeting is adjourned.
And let's get going because it's supposed to get,
Okay, here's the
I've
stuff
been hitting the window.
I was supposed to sign for you.
Yes, thank you.
And there's the rules. This is junk.
And do we're-
Oh, Teresa, I brought this one back. I know you only had one copy of this.